Okay.
This recording is being done by the physio team in MS Ireland to celebrate World MS Day, and the theme of World MS Day this year is diagnosis. So we thought we would get together and have a chat about what it is people need to know when they're newly diagnosed with MS. First of all, to introduce ourselves, I'm Susan Coote. I'm the Exercise and Physiotherapy Coordinator for MS Ireland.
I'm Hugh O'Loughlin. I'm a Senior Physiotherapist working with the MS Ireland Move Smart programs.
My name is Mary Burke, and I'm a senior physiotherapist working in the Western region, covering the area of Galway, Roscommon, and Mayo.
So Hugh, you run our newly diagnosed programs, which are part of Move Smart MS. Tell us what you get asked about most frequently by participants in that class.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. So yeah, one of the most frequently asked questions in the newly diagnosed programs that we run is, can I go back to doing a certain activity, or can I return to doing a sport that I did before, or a class in the gym that I'd done previously? And sort of the simplest answer to that is that being diagnosed with MS does not preclude you or prevent you from doing anything. No sport or activity is sort of contraindicated. It may mean that you need to modify a little bit the things that you do and how you go about doing them, and especially in the initial stages, and then try to sort of build back up to levels similar to what you were doing before. One of the things, though, to be conscious of when returning to activity is that sometimes people living with MS have a sensitivity to temperature changes, particularly heat. And when the core body temperature increases, they can sometimes temporarily bring on symptoms, new symptoms, or maybe make some of the symptoms of MS that you have already a little bit more prominent temporarily. And anything that increases core body temperature can do that. So it could be a hot bath, it could be an infection, it could be an increase in temperature from sickness, anything like that. But exercise is one of those factors that might increase your core body temperature. So if you are aware that heat increases, or you have heat sensitivity and it increases or makes some symptoms more prominent, then when you're exercising, you just want to keep in mind that that may occur. And you can do several things to try to counteract that. So drinking plenty of water, have loose cotton clothing, for example. Ventilation is your friend. So having fans on if that's possible, having windows open. Air conditioning is great if you have access to that. Maybe performing the exercises in the morning or in the evening, or in shaded or cool rooms if that's at all possible. One of the other questions we get asked quite a bit is also about fatigue. And we know that fatigue is one of the most prominent symptoms that people with MS report. And sometimes people ask about trying to fit exercise in when fatigue is such a prominent symptom for them. And it may sound counterintuitive, but exercise is actually being shown to be one of the best forms of treatment for fatigue, and fatigue can respond really well to exercise. If we strengthen muscles, if we maintain or improve our flexibility, or if we get the nervous system coordinating and sending messages more efficiently, then everyday tasks, including exercise, can become less energy demanding, and then fatigue improves. So incorporating exercise, a regular exercise program, can actually help with fatigue. But having said that, if fatigue is an issue for you, you might want to think about how to manage that and incorporate exercise in at the same time. So things like rest is really important. It's a really undervalued skill, I think, is sort of being able to use rest in the right way. So we recommend people take a break before they get really fatigued or really tired. So if you can take a break, if you know you get tired just before lunchtime, then maybe incorporating a 10 or a 15-minute break, sort of at 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, can be really good. You want to think about doing a little and resting a little. So maybe breaking up your exercise program so you're not doing a huge bit altogether. You might want to do a little bit in the morning, maybe do another little bit in the afternoon or the evening, or maybe breaking your exercise program up over a couple of days. Or if you do want to do it all together, maybe just being conscious of taking more breaks and sort of giving yourself a chance to catch up, because especially when you start a new program, it can take a bit of time for the body to catch up with that. And then also you want to think about your energy levels. So you want to think about when you are doing your exercises, can you do it on a day where you don't necessarily have a huge amount of other things happening? Is there a way of doing it on a day that maybe you've got a little bit more time, where you're not doing any other really high energy demanding tasks? And then planning it, trying to plan out when you do your exercises, like maybe having a certain day in the week that is your sort of hour for doing your exercise, or half an hour, and planning other tasks to come on days where you're not doing your exercises, so that you're not as fatigued after doing those programs. But essentially, exercise is really beneficial for helping to manage symptoms, and we now know that everybody living with MS should be trying to exercise as much as they can. I also have a question for Mary. So, Mary, you work individually with people who are newly diagnosed. What do you think people need to know?
Yeah, so Hugh, along the same lines as what you're saying, exercise is a really important part of managing your condition. I suppose for everyone, there's lots of benefits of physical activity, such as it can be really good from a mental health point of view. It can help release all those happy hormones. It can really help in terms of self-confidence, self-esteem, self-efficacy, so your belief in your ability to do things. And then there's also kind of physical benefits in terms of it's good for your heart, it's good for your lungs, it's good for your bone density, and it's really good for your muscle strength, which will help you continue to do the things that you enjoy, and your flexibility. In terms of then with regards to exercise in terms of MS, it's if you have a diagnosis of MS, it's something that we definitely need to consider incorporating as part of your life, because it does slow down the progression of MS, and it also reduces your risk of relapse, which is really important. And I suppose as well, it's about building that reserve so that if and when you do have a dip, that you are strong enough that you kind of build on that bounce back ability, if you are already engaging in a regular exercise program. So I would say it's, we've a range of programs on offer through MS Ireland. We try and offer things to fit everyone's needs. So please get in touch and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help support you with. Susan, I now have a question for you. So your background is within the research and physical activity with a special interest in MS. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, in a nutshell, really, the research evidence confirms what you and Hugh are already saying. I think thinking about safety first. So, 30, 40 years ago, we were taught that people with MS shouldn't be active. And that was because of the heat sensitivity that Hugh mentioned, that, people started exercising, they got hot, their symptoms got a little bit worse, but now we know that that's temporary. And there's a big, what's called a meta-analysis. So a researcher has sat and literally found every single research paper they can from around the world and taken all of the numbers from all of those studies and put them together. And what they did was they compared the people. So typically we have a group of people who exercise and a group of people who don't exercise when we're looking to see whether exercise works. And actually what happens is that the people who didn't exercise had more relapses. So that really ties into what, Mary, you were saying in terms of the importance of being physically active to live well with MS. So people who are physically active have less relapses. And this meta-analysis clearly says that exercising with MS is safe. You might have the same aches the next day if you work hard that everybody else would. It's important to stay hydrated, but the exercise is very, very safe for people living with MS. And I suppose the research benefits, the research then also proves what you're saying in terms of improvements in symptoms, like your balance improves, your strength improves, your fitness improves, and that improves similarly for people with MS than it does for people who don't have MS. And as Hugh mentioned, exercise is beneficial for fatigue. So it's not instinctive. If you're really, really tired, the last thing you want to do with exercise. But what I want people to know is that the evidence really clearly says that when you're fitter, stronger and more flexible, you have less fatigue. So exercising will help reduce your fatigue. And all of this evidence has come together to form an MS exercise guideline. And as Hugh said, there's nothing that you can't do because if you have MS. You may have to do something a little bit differently than you did before, or at a slightly different pace. But people with MS can do anything. I have met amazing people who run marathons. Now, I always say to people, I have no intention of running a marathon. So if you don't either, that's absolutely fine. But it's just to say that you can do things. There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing that anybody's going to say, no, you mustn't do that. But the exercise guideline is quite simple. We're looking for 150 minutes of exercise and or physical activity, and that exercise is a combination of strength, balance, flexibility, and fitness. And that's really very similar for everybody. We all need to stay physically active for the best of our benefits of our health. So thank you. We want to wish you all a happy World MS Day. And as Mary said, we have a range of different programs for people with MS. So if you Google MS Ireland Physiotherapy, you'll find information about Active Neuro, Getting the Balance Right, Move Smart MS, and the service in the West. And we hope that we will see you all exercising soon.